Goals, dreams, moving forward. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. No one can tell about us better than ourselves. Watch the block of programs of TV BRICS International Network on Umtala TV, South Africa.
Dr. Gosiensho Ramokgopa, Minister of Electricity and Energy of Republic of South Africa. He was appointed to this post by the President Cyril Ramaphosa in 2024. In the 2000s, he became a representative on an African National Congress in Tswana. Also held the position of Deputy Chairperson of the Limpopo Board of Trade and Investment. Ramokgopa had been elected a mayor of Tswana in 2010 and held this position till 2016. Later, he had been working for the Executive Council for Economic Development, Agriculture and Environment of the Gauteng province. Gosiensho Ramokgopa is an appointed professor of the University of Johannesburg in the School of Public Management, Governance and Public Policy. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. We are very glad to see you in Moscow. And we are interested in what the main priorities in the sphere of energetic sphere of South Africa is main for you, and what do you consider your main priority as a minister?
Well, first, I'm happy to be in Russia and also to have met my counterparts, the ministers of energy within the BRICS fraternity. I think the BRICS is a wonderful platform for member countries to exchange views, ideas, technology and skills on matters of mutual interest. As we know now that the BRICS is the biggest, largest grouping of any countries outside the UN. We account for about 35% of the global GDP. So our interest is to ensure that we use the BRICS platform to help us to meet the energy needs of our country. We've come out of a very, very difficult year. The Russians, the Chinese and also the Indians have got energy generation fleet, their coal plants. So we want to learn from them how did they get that right, so that we can, if you like, import that technology into our own country and resolve our own energy challenge. We know that the countries within the BRICS, they've made significant strides with regards to renewable energy generations. The technology has advanced that they apply in these countries. So we want to see how best they've been able to achieve that. So working together, we think that we can benefit the South African economy and our own citizens and industry in ensuring that our ambition to transition is becoming real. It's at the rate, it's at the pace and scale that we can afford. It's not detrimental to the South African economy, but also making energy accessible and energy affordable.
Thank you, sir. And what do you think about diversification of energy supply? How to maintain a balance between traditional and renewable sources?
I like the way you are putting it, is to strike a balance. So it's not a choice of one versus the other, but it's to do them together in a manner that meet your own targets. We have set ourselves what we call the nationally determined contribution. So these are voluntary targets because we do appreciate that as a country we've got an obligation to reduce the greenhouse gas emission and contribute to the global effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We know the kind of devastation is causing to many parts of the world. There's a relationship between emissions and climate change. And we have seen it in our own country, the devastation that is causing to poor communities. So it's in our interest that we make that contribution. And that's why we said that the energy mix, we need to ramp up the contributions of renewable energy, solar and wind, so we can see in terms of our plans, you see an upward curve, an exponential increase of the share of PV and wind in the mix of energy generation. But we are not abandoning coal, we are not abandoning gas, we are not abandoning those fuel sources, because clean forms of technology, because of their intermittent nature, they are not available all the time, they are non-dispatchable, you can't ramp them up or down, they are available when they are available. So you need some degree of flexibility, and that's why these other sources, they give you, if you like, the comfort of availability, flexibility, and that's why gas is going to be part of the mix in South Africa. Nuclear will continue to be part of the mix. We are the only nuclear energy generating country on the continent. Of course, Egypt is at an advanced stage. They'll be putting reactors onto the load as part of their mix, but we are the leaders on the continent, and we still have ambitions of ensuring that nuclear continues to be part of the mix. So to your point, I think it's about that balance, doing everything together to the benefit of the economy, to the benefit of the household. Electricity must be affordable, it must be of good quality, and it must be available. So affordability, quality, and reliability is very, very important. So that's why the mix must take all of that into consideration.
Could you please tell us, how do you evaluate the level of green energy in South Africa and cooperation with Russia and your country in this field?
Well, I think the Russians have moved far ahead from us. Of course, the population quite large, the economy significantly bigger than ours, so we accept that, and that's why we are accelerating clean generation sources. We're going through a public procurement process. We have done it about 7 stages, or if you like 7 iterations, starting with what we call bid window number 1. We're at bid window number 7. It's a program that is about public procurement of renewable energy sources. So we're doing that as a country, so that we're able to onboard cleaner forms of energy. We have also introduced reforms, so essentially allowing for private sector to generate electricity. So we're moving away from a monopoly. The liberalization of the generation side will have a significant impact on South Africa's generation capability and its ability to meet the energy demand and meet the requirements for a growing economy. We've seen this happening in India, we're seeing in China, we're seeing elements of that in Russia. So it's important that we are able to ensure that we use the BRICS platform first as a learning platform of like-minded countries on how best to transition, at least in the energy space. It's got those manifestations, this relationship of technologies transfer, skills transfer, sharing of experiences and learnings, and that's going to help us to meet our own energy demands.
How can you evaluate the role of BRICS countries in the global energetic sphere?
Well, like I said earlier on, I think the BRICS is on the ascendancy with the admission of 6 new member countries into the BRICS bloc of nations. You find that we now account for about 35% of the GDP. And then we also are big players in sub-Saharan Africa. Ethiopia is in there, South Africa is in there, to the north Egypt is in there. So one of the things that we're advocating for, at least as South Africa, and I'm confident that Ethiopia and Egypt will agree on us, is to ensure that we improve energy access. The communique that we released yesterday as a product of the BRICS energy ministers conversation emphasized on energy access. 600 million people on the continent don't have access to electricity. So that's an area of growth. So what Africa is endowed with natural resources, where the sun, the wind, and the land that is not competing with other productive uses. So we've got land that's not competing with primary agriculture in areas where the irradiation level is healthy. So we're able to roll out solar PV, and in that way we can be able to connect the rural areas, far-flung areas. They can have access to electricity using a modern and cleaner form of generation. So we can give them a combo, a suite of those interventions, and then we address the issues of energy hunger and energy poverty. We know it's cheaper producing electricity using this technology. We know that if it's a behind-the-meter intervention, you don't rely on the existence of a grid. You can create microgrids. So essentially communities can become self-sufficient and that's how we see the future of Africa. So the area of growth is on the continent. Like I said, 35% of GDP, that's the size of the BRICS countries put together. And there's an increased, if you like, interest by other countries to join this club of nations. So what does BRICS stand for? It's about the interest of member countries, how we see development, our world outlook, almost the same. So it doesn't stand in opposition to any other grouping. It stands in favor of its own interest. To the extent that those interests coincide with some member countries, you are invited to be part of the BRICS. Of course, the leadership determines when and how people join. But the BRICS essentially is a family of nations, the advancement of humanity through a shared perspective. And that's what BRICS is for. And the energy front, there are huge, huge opportunities, like I've mentioned, to ensure that that's 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa who don't have access to electricity ultimately gets to be connected. And that's how you're going to rebalance the global energy mix as we know it.
You have already talked about future, but future is already here. It's artificial intelligence. What do you think about it? Is it possible to use artificial intelligence in energy sphere now?
Oh yes, absolutely. So first, I mean, how the opportunities, how we see them in my country, is that it can help us with understanding the consumption patterns so that we are able to anticipate that those consumption patterns. Artificial intelligence can also help us in detecting areas of leakage, can help us in addressing issues of infrastructure distraction. So we see that there's a big future of artificial intelligence, and what that will do essentially, it will improve the quality of the delivery of electricity and the energy complex in the country. So I think the advancements in artificial intelligence, to the extent that they can be applied in the energy sector, is something that is welcomed and can only help to improve our ability to ensure that the poor are not excluded, to ensure that we modernize the transmission capability of our infrastructure ecosystem, and this can only benefit the country, industry, and the people of South Africa and BRIC member countries, and also the world. I mean, truth be told, that everyone will benefit immensely from the advancement of technology.
Thank you, sir. And the last question, what do you think need to be done to provide energy to areas like mountains and territories with extremely low temperature?
In totality, I'm confident that the advancement of technology is going to help us in the quickest possible way to connect remote and poor areas to electricity, so that we are able to close the gap between of energy poverty. It is in the interest of humanity that we are able to take everyone along with us, and that's why the BRICS communique makes the point that we are going to do all of these things without leaving anyone behind. So we're taking everyone with us to ensure that we move into a new future. We are able to unleash the potential of humanity on the back of this energy revolution. So it's possible, it can be done, and the BRICS is an excellent platform for us to achieve that.
Thank you very much, sir, for interesting talk.
Thank you.